So I don't know if you saw the advert that Robert Kraft paid for to tackle anti-Semitism or raise awareness about it for the Super Bowl ad. It basically follows this Jewish kid who's walking around and people bump into him. They put a sticker on his back and it says "Dirty Jew." That's strange. He looks pretty clean to me. Then this guy puts a blue sticker on it. He says, ignore them. It says 2 in 3 Jewish teens have experienced anti-Semitism. Share the blue star to show you care. Now look, it's obviously super, super well intentioned. And yes, in many ways, it's wonderful that this guy, Robert Kraft, wants to raise awareness and fight back against the hatred and lies that we've been seeing online. And it does push for a message of decency. I don't want to discount any of that. But there are also elements that we need to think about in our own strategy of how we tackle anti-Semitism, because it's important to think about how can we actually address this. Is a message of, look at this Jew, how he's pushed around, he doesn't even fight back or stand up for himself, or, he just walks off away and just is a little bit, he has a bit of friendship from someone, but ultimately he's a victim here. Is that a message that is overall positive, or one that can really move us forward? Maybe you would say, well, it's not really aimed at non-Jews. But I would say still, is this message going to cut through? People who want to be nice to Jews or think it's wrong to be mean to Jews, they're going to think that. And those who don't, won't. So my question is, could the message have been different or better? How can we actually cut through? So first of all, I just want to show you this. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on this. Builders of the Middle East, I think, they're the ones that did this, made a video where they transformed the video into something else. And I think this is edging closer towards a better way of thinking about how to address anti-Semitism. Have a watch of their revised version, which I assume they just did with AI.
Did you see that?
Graduates, today marks the culmination. If we direct your attention to the visualization behind me,
So I love this ending. We refuse to be victims. We are builders. Unite, bring light, and build together. Already much more positive, because he's not relying on someone else to make him feel better. He's not even bothered by these people hating him. Instead, he focuses on pushing light and life. This is already a much stronger message. It's more actually directed at Jews than non-Jews. But actually, I think it's important for both to see and both to understand, because the ultimate resolution to anti-Semitism, not to say that it is the Jewish people's fault, of course it's not, but the ultimate resolution is when we shine even more light into the world that basically gets rid of all the darkness. Now, the only way I would refine this is the question of what is that light that we are meant to be shining? Of course, we know that part of the Jewish story has been that Jews, especially since the Enlightenment, since we've had the opportunity to go out into wider society and not be forced behind ghetto walls, transform the world of medicine, technology, science, the arts, culture. I can go on, as well as religious discussion. But the key area in which the Jews are meant to bring that light and fully extinguish all the darkness is through the area of teaching Torah, teaching God, bringing a vessel for God's light into the world and showing the world how you can bring that into every single element of one's life. That's the whole point of Torah, to bring God consciousness, knowledge of God into your life and bring him into every corner of the world. And so, while people may say, it's not fair that, Jews should have to consider themselves responsible for tackling anti-Semitism. Well, it's not that we are responsible for the hatred, but we do have a power, we do have a mission, a destiny to bring light into the world. And so, getting caught up in needing everyone to like us or needing to, for people to put their shoulder around us. They want to, but we shouldn't let all that hatred and stuff intimidate us. Now, what's the secret to this? What is the secret to us focusing not on, how much opposition we have, not getting bothered by people bumping into us, as we say, both literally and metaphorically, but instead just focusing on bringing life to the world? It's actually an age-old Jewish message. It goes back all the way back to the beginning of the Jewish story. The Jews are about to enter the promised land, and Moses says, here's what's going to happen throughout your history. You're going to go into this land. You're going to have a nice time for a while, but then it's about to get very, very painful. You're going to get exiled from the land, dispersed. You'll be paranoid every single day. You're going to wonder, if only things were as bad as yesterday, that would be fine. But now they're getting even worse. And you're just going to be constantly looking over your back, and it's going to be miserable. And then he finishes with the famous words, choose life. What's he effectively saying? What is the secret of Jewish eternity? The secret is this, that there's basically two elements to one's life, to one's existence. There's your existence, and this was taught by Rabbi Manis Friedman. There's your existence, which is the space you take up. So a book on a shelf takes up space. If you have one book there, you can't have another book there. A thought in your mind takes up space. You can't be thinking two thoughts at the same time. It takes up a certain amount of space. Fire takes up space. So that's just your existence. In your own life, you take up space. And the quality of your existence can vary, and often it's actually out of your control. We can't determine the quality of how comfortable we're always going to be, healthy, our relationships, our wealth, everything. But then there's another thing, which is the quality of your life. And the quality of your life is about what is the contribution that my existence can make to the world around me. So a book's existence, it takes up space on the shelf. Its life is the ideas that it can give to others. A fire takes up space. It consumes. What does it provide? It provides heat, provides warmth, provides the ability to cook. That's its life. A thought. I can go through anything that exists. It has what it needs to sustain itself, and then it has the question of what can it actually provide. And that's the same with our existence as well. We all exist. Some have fabulous existences, some have terrible existence. But we don't fully control it. In fact, we hardly control it at all. And focusing on something that is up and down and fleeting gets depressing. Why does it get depressing? The reason is because it's kind of hard to justify itself. The fact that we exist, the fact that we're so obsessed with asking, what's the reason for our existence? Why are we here? That touches on something extremely deep, because we all recognize that taking up space is a bit depressing. It's a bit meaningless. It's selfish. It lacks any purpose. But the justification for existence is our life. And so when we focus on existing, we get depressed because we know that that's not the purpose of our existence, to get focused on that. In fact, if we didn't exist in the first place, we would not complain, we'd not be bothered. In fact, many people, if they were told your existence is going to stop tomorrow, they might feel some relief. Having to just take up space and look after yourself is depressing, it's burdensome, it's heavy. But what's not is life. Focusing on how I can contribute, what I can do. It's liberating. It's uplifting. Because it justifies existence. And in fact, it is the purpose of our existence. That was what Moshe was saying. He's saying you're going to have times of very, very difficult existence, so don't focus on it. Focus instead on living, on building communities that care for one another, that innovate, that provide centers of Torah study and learning and connection to God, that teach your people, create communities that are learning more, sharing more wisdom with the world, vibrant communities. And when you focus on that, your existence will kind of take care of itself. Rabbi Friedman shared a story of, I think it was a rabbi was meeting Putin, who was asking him about what is the secret of Jewish eternity? Why do Jews continue to exist and exist despite being so few in number, scattered all over the world, intensely persecuted? Meanwhile, you have these greatest nations and empires that come, they rise and they fall. He said, explain that to me. So the rabbi, nervous of how he should answer it, said, well, what do you think is the answer? Classic rabbi answer, by the way. Brilliant. I think even Family Guy satirized that when they're trying to, Stewie and Brian are trying to figure out what the, what happens when you die. And they go to different religions. And when they go to the rabbi says, well, what do you think happens? And then, I can't remember. It's very funny. Anyway, the Putin apparently said to the rabbi, he said, well, I think it's because nations and empires often place their purpose and their hope in things that are temporary, whereas the Jews put their hope in something that's eternal. Torah, family, education, all these things, their values, rather than building up their empires, building up their existence, right? Materialism, whatever it is. And actually, for Putin, that is pretty profound stuff. Not here to, by the way, launder Putin at all, but I'm simply just saying that insight. Yeah, when you focus on life, that's what gives you vitality. It's what gives you a justification for your existence. And it turns out actually when you focus less on your existence, you end up being able to live a lot more. Just quickly, we've all heard of heaven, hell, and the afterlife, and at some point I'm sure you've given it some thought. But the Jewish view is radically different from almost everything you've been taught, and once you hear it, it will change how you understand life itself. Have a watch of the trailer for our new JTV Plus documentary called Heaven, Hell, and the Afterlife, and you can watch the full film right now by clicking the link below in the video description. Across the world, the afterlife is described in simple terms. Heaven above, hell below, the devil waiting to tempt you, and a humanity born in original sin. But Judaism tells a story that is older, deeper, and far more hopeful. Less obsessed with fear and more rooted in purpose. A story where the soul is not born guilty, but born noble. Where the body is not the enemy, but the partner. Where the devil isn't God's rival, but his assistant, because Judaism has no second power. Where hell exists, but not forever. Where heaven exists, but not as the final destination. And where the real end of the human story is resurrection, not escape. Judaism views history as a mission, not a mistake. Other civilizations teach that we are here to earn our way into heaven. Judaism teaches that we are here to bring heaven down to earth. And to understand what happens after we die, we first have to understand why we're here in the first place. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to reveal the Jewish vision of life after death. One of the most misunderstood ideas, but if understood correctly, can transform your very understanding of life itself. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.